If you've ever tried to learn Webflow as a complete beginner, then you probably already know exactly what I'm talking about. You open it up, you see all these panels and these options, and immediately you feel completely overwhelmed, right? And that's exactly why I created this full Webflow tutorial for beginners in 2026. I'm going to walk you through everything step by step, assuming you have zero coding or design experience. We'll cover the editor, how to structure layouts, create sections, style your elements, and actually publish your site live on the web. But here's what makes this different from every other Webflow tutorial out there. I'm not just going to show you random features. Instead, we're going to build a complete, clean website from scratch together, and I'll point out the most common beginner mistakes that trip people up so you can avoid them entirely. Now, I've been using Webflow for years and I know how to master it. What I've learned is that once you understand the core fundamentals, which I'm going to break down in the simplest way possible, Webflow actually becomes incredibly intuitive and powerful. By the end of this video, you're not only going to understand how Webflow works, but you'll have your very first website built and ready to publish. So if you're ready to go from complete beginner to confidently building websites in Webflow, let's go ahead and dive in. Now, if you want to master AI tools and learn how to build profitable SaaS apps and websites and AI agents and mobile apps with AI, I've created a complete masterclass that shows you exactly how to do it step by step. And this masterclass normally costs $499 to join, but since you are watching this video, thank you. You can join completely free. Just check out the link in the description below to access the masterclass and start building your own AI-powered business today. So let's start by setting everything up and getting familiar with how Webflow works from the moment that we open it up for the first time. And to access the platform, let's go to webflow.com. And once you're on the homepage, click the blue Start for Free button in the top right corner here. And from here, you can create your account using either Google or email. After signing in, Webflow will ask a few setup questions like your name, who you want to build websites for, what kind of workplace you're in, and how many people are part of your team. So just go through the prompts and answer them based on the type of websites you want to create. After finishing the setup process, you'll be redirected straight to the dashboard here. Now, one thing that's important to know early on is that Webflow's free plan is not a temporary trial. You can build and host up to 2 websites on a webflow.io domain completely free, which makes it great for learning and testing ideas without paying upfront. So once you land on the dashboard here, everything is organized around your projects and your workspace. On the top left, you'll find the main navigation area where you can switch between the dashboard, the marketplace, the learn section, and additional resources. The top right corner gives you access to your account settings, your workspace management, updates, theme settings, and sign out options. And along the left sidebar, you'll see workspace controls where you can create or manage different workspaces, along with quick access settings for billing, integrations, team management, templates, and libraries. And the center area here is where all your websites and projects will appear as you start building more sites. Near the upper right corner, you'll also see the invite button for adding collaborators and the new site button for creating a fresh project. So now let's create the first website. Just click new site and Webflow will ask whether you want to start from a blank project or use a template. So for this tutorial, select blank site. Templates are useful for faster launches, but starting from scratch helps you actually understand how Webflow works and gives you more control over the design process later on. So once the project opens, you'll see the main Webflow designer interface, and the layout is divided into 4 important sections that you'll use constantly while building. The toolbar on the left is where you add elements and navigate through the project. The large center area here is called the canvas, and this is where you visually build the website itself. On the right side, you'll find the panel area where all the styling, the settings, and design controls are located. Across the top is the Breakpoint bar, which allows you to preview and adjust the site across desktop, tablet, and mobile views. Now, at first, the interface can look a little overwhelming, especially if you've never used a professional web design tool before. But after a few minutes, though, the layout does start making sense because everything is grouped based on function. The left side focuses on structure and navigation, the right side controls design and settings, and the top section handles responsiveness across devices. So once you understand that flow, building inside Webflow becomes much easier and far more intuitive. Now that the workspace is ready, it's time to understand the Webflow designer itself because, well, this is where all the actual building happens. The designer works like a visual version of a real web browser engine. Every section and image and button and layout you create is being translated into actual website code behind the scenes while you design visually. And that's one of the biggest reasons Webflow just feels much more professional compared to standard website builders. Right in the center of the screen, you'll see the canvas, and this is the main working area where you build the website visually. You can drag elements onto the page, resize sections, edit content, and structure your layout directly from here. Everything updates in real time, so what you see inside the canvas is essentially a live preview of the final website. Since Webflow uses a real browser rendering engine, the design you create here closely matches what visitors will actually see once the site is published. On the left side, one of the most important tools is the navigator panel. This shows the full structure of your website in a layered hierarchy, and as you add sections and containers and text and buttons and images, they appear inside the navigator like a tree structure. This helps you understand how elements are nested inside of each other, which becomes extremely important once your layouts just become more advanced. Keeping the structure clean here makes the entire project easier to manage later on. Now, over on the right side is the style panel, and this is where most of the design work happens. Whenever you select an element on the page, the style panel gives you full control over things like colors and typography, spacing, sizing, borders, shadows, and positioning as well. Even though you're working visually, Workflow is actually generating clean CSS code in the background every time you make a change. So if you increase the font size, change a background color, or adjust spacing, Webflow writes those styling rules automatically without requiring manual coding. Right beside that, you'll also find the settings panel, and this area focuses more on functionality rather than appearance. For example, if you want a button to link to another page, open a URL, or trigger a specific action, those controls are handled inside the settings panel. You can also change element types here, like converting a regular container into a section or adjusting page level configurations. Another panel you use frequently is the Assets panel. On the left toolbar, click the image icon to open it, and this is where all uploaded media files are stored, including images and other assets used throughout your website. Now, Webflow automatically optimizes uploaded images in the background by converting them into modern formats like WebP, which helps websites load faster and perform better across devices. Now, at first, the designer can feel like a lot because there are several panels all opened up at once. But after spending a little time inside of it though, the workflow becomes just much more natural. The canvas handles the visual building, the navigator controls structure, the style panel manages design, and the settings panel again handles all of the functionality. So once those pieces do click together, building inside of Webflow starts feeling much smoother and a lot more organized. Every website is made up of core building blocks like text and images and buttons and sections. Inside Webflow, these elements are not only added to the page, they're also styled through classes so that the entire design stays consistent as the project grows. So let's start by opening the Add panel using the plus icon in the top left corner. Drag a section element onto the canvas first, and after that, scroll down to the typography area and drag a text block inside the section. Double-click the text so you can edit it directly, then head over to the style panel on the right here to change the font size, the color, and other typography settings. Text styling matters a lot here because most users interact with websites through written content. So keeping fonts and spacing and colors all consistent immediately makes the design just feel more professional. Let's create another section now and drag in an H1 heading, a paragraph, and a link block from the Add panel. Headings help structure the page and improve SEO. Paragraphs are used for longer content, and link blocks allow entire elements like text or images to become clickable. Spacing is another important part of the design process. Every element inside Webflow follows the box model, which means that each item behaves like its own box. So select any element and look at the spacing controls inside the style panel. You'll see options for margin and padding. Padding controls the space inside of the element, while margin controls the space outside of it. Small adjustments here can completely change how balanced the layout feels. Images works the same way. Open up the Assets panel from the left sidebar and upload your image files. And once the upload finishes, just drag an image element onto the canvas from the Add panel. Click Choose Image and then select one of the uploaded files. Inside the image settings, make sure Disable Responsiveness stays unchecked so the image automatically adjusts across different screen sizes properly. Webflow also optimizes uploaded images automatically to help improve loading speed. Buttons can be added directly from the Add panel as well. So drag a button element here onto our page, double-click the text to rename it, then go to the Style panel again and create a class called Primary Button. And now from there, you can customize the background color, the font color, and the border radius even to shape the button style that you want. Classes are extremely important in Webflow because they allow you to reuse the same styling across multiple elements. So if another button gets the primary button class later on, it will then automatically inherit the same exact design settings without needing to rebuild it from scratch. Once the basic elements are on the page, the next step is learning how to structure layouts properly. So this is what allows you to create things like multi-column sections, organized content areas, and responsive designs that adapt cleanly across devices. So let's start by opening the Add panel and dragging a section onto the canvas here. And inside that section, place a container, then add a div block inside the container. Now each one has a different role in the layout here. The section controls the larger area of the page, including the spacing and the backgrounds. The container keeps content aligned and centered across the screen, while the div block acts as a sort of flexible wrapper used for grouping smaller elements together. So these three elements form the basic skeleton of most web pages built in Webflow. Flexbox is one of the main layout systems you'll use for arranging content. So select the div block and then place two buttons inside of it. Head over to the Style panel and then under the Layout section here, click the Flex icon. After that, select the horizontal direction so the buttons sit side by side. Set Justify to center to align them in the middle of the page, then adjust the gap value to create spacing between the buttons. Flexbox works best for one-dimensional layouts where elements need to line up in a single row or a column, and it is commonly used for navigation bars, button groups, and smaller content layouts because it automatically adjusts spacing and alignment cleanly. So for more advanced layouts, Webflow also includes CSS Grid. Add another section and place a container inside of it. Select the container and then switch the layout to Grid inside the Style panel. And from here, we can add rows and columns directly into the layout. Click Edit Grid in the upper right corner of the container, then use the plus button in the top left area here to create grid areas where elements can be placed. So Grid gives much more control when building complex layouts because it works across both rows and columns at the same time. So this makes it useful for galleries, portfolio sections, dashboards, and structured page designs that need more flexibility than Flexbox. Responsive behavior is also important. While editing the grid, make sure the sizing options on the left side are set to auto. And this allows the layout to resize automatically when switching between desktop, tablet, and mobile views, so helping prevent elements from breaking on smaller screens. A website also needs proper navigation, so of course, let's build a basic header. Drag a section to the top of the page here and place a nav bar inside of it. Select the section in the navigator, then go to Style, open the position settings, and change it to fixed. After that, click the top option so the navigation stays attached to the top of the screen while scrolling. Keeping the header fixed just makes navigation much easier, simply because visitors can just move around the website at any point without needing to scroll all the way back up. Styling is what gives the website its overall personality and polished appearance. So things like colors and typography and spacing and visual effects, those all work together to shape how professional the final design feels. So select any section or element on the page here, then head over to the background area inside the Style panel. Click the plus icon besides image and gradient. Webflow allows you to apply flat colors, linear gradients, or radial gradients depending on the style that you want to create. So use the color swatches here to customize the exact look of the background. Also, typography settings are located here under the Typography section in the Style menu. You can select any text element and you can change the font family, the font color, the font weight, and the spacing. Setting the weight to something like, say, 700 creates a bold appearance, while adjusting the letter spacing slightly can make headings easier to read and visually cleaner. Now, typography is more than just choosing a font. Proper line height and letter spacing improve readability and make paragraphs just feel much more balanced across the page. Spacing controls are equally important for creating clean layouts. Select an element and open the spacing section inside the Style panel. And here you can adjust margins and padding using the control boxes. Margin controls the space outside the element, while padding controls the space inside of it. Now further down in the Style menu, you'll find the position settings. Static positioning follows the default layout flow, so relative positioning adds extra placement flexibility. Absolute positioning places elements relative to a parent container or the body itself. Fixed positioning keeps elements attached to the browser window while scrolling, and sticky positioning keeps elements attached only after the user scrolls to a specific point. So then the top, the left, the right, and the bottom controls can also be used to fine-tune positioning manually. Visual effects help add depth and separation throughout the design. So you can select an element and scroll down to the borders section where you can customize border styles and thickness and colors and border radius for rounded corners. Inside the effects section, select the plus icon beside box shadow. You can apply either outside or inside shadows, then adjust the color, the blur, and the intensity using the sliders. A blur value of around, say, 20 pixels usually creates a soft modern shadow effect. Additional effects like, say, transforms, transitions, and filters are also available for more advanced styling and animation. Now, these effects help buttons and cards and content sections just stand out a little bit more cleanly while making the interface feel more interactive. Webflow also includes pre-built layout systems that speed up the design process. So open up the Add Elements panel here and switch to the Layouts tab. You'll find ready-made structures like, say, navigation sections and hero sections and galleries and other responsive layouts that can be dragged directly onto your canvas. So these layouts are already built using sections and containers and divs and Flexbox and grid systems, making them a very strong starting point for creating responsive website designs without actually needing to structure everything manually from scratch. Now, a website might look perfect on a desktop screen and then completely fall apart on a phone if responsiveness isn't handled properly. So this part of the process focuses on making sure that every section adapts cleanly across different screen sizes so that our site stays usable everywhere. At the top center of the designer here, you'll see the breakpoint icons for desktop, tablet, mobile landscape, and mobile portrait. And each one here represents a different screen size. So as you build sections and layouts, it is important to regularly switch between these breakpoints to make sure that every element stays visible and properly aligned across your devices. Webflow starts with a desktop-first workflow by default, but checking mobile layouts constantly during the design process is still extremely important. So after styling a section on desktop, just switch over to the mobile portrait view and see how everything behaves on smaller screens. In some cases, font sizes may need to be reduced, or grid layouts may need to stack vertically to fit the screen properly. Now, most users browse websites on their phones anyway, so designing with mobile usability in mind does help keep the content readable and easier to interact with. Responsive sizing also plays a huge role here, so try using percentage values or relative units like rem and em instead of fixed pixel values whenever possible. So for example, setting a section width to 100% allows it to scale naturally across different screen sizes, while rigid pixel widths can cause layouts to overflow or break on smaller devices. Previewing the site across devices is simple inside of Webflow. Click the preview button in the top right corner here, then just switch between the desktop, the tablet, and mobile landscape and mobile portrait views. So make sure to check each section carefully and make sure that text in your images and your buttons and your layouts still look clean and usable throughout every breakpoint. Now, one of the most common responsive layout behaviors is called the stack. And when switching to a mobile breakpoint, columns and side-by-side elements, those automatically rearrange into vertical layouts. And this makes scrolling easier on phones and keeps buttons and text large enough to comfortably tap with a thumb. Managing content manually becomes difficult very quickly, especially when a website starts growing with blog posts and projects and team pages or portfolios. And that's where the Webflow CMS becomes extremely useful, because it does allow you to create dynamic content without rebuilding the same layout over and over again. The CMS can be accessed from the upper left corner here inside of Webflow. So think of it like a built-in database for your website where you can go ahead and store and organize repeating content such as blog posts and case studies and projects or team members even. Instead of designing 20 separate blog pages manually, Webflow just allows you to create a single collection, add a single template layout, and then every item added to the collection will then automatically just follows that same structure, which saves us a huge amount of time. So to create your first collection, click Create a Collection, and then choose the blog posts preset. After that, click Create Collection, and then Webflow gives the option to generate sample content automatically. So go ahead and click Generate Sample Items. Select 20 items and click Generate and wait for the process to finish. After a few seconds, the collection will then be populated with sample blog posts that can be used as content throughout the website. Each collection here works like a sort of folder, while every individual item inside of it acts as its own piece of content. To customize the structure further, click the gear icon beside the collection name to open up the blog post settings. And inside these settings, you'll see both the default fields and the custom fields. And this is where you can add different content types like text fields and images and colors, rich text areas, and more. Rich text fields are commonly used for long-form blog content, while image fields are often used for thumbnails or featured images. So after setting up the collection, let's head back to the design page and open up the Pages panel. Let's create a new page called Blog Posts, add a section to the canvas, place a container inside of it, then drag in a collection list. Connect the collection list to your blog post collection, set the width to 100% so it fills the container properly, then change the layout into 3 columns to keep everything organized all visually. Also, pagination can be enabled here. Just toggle paginate items and then set the limit to say 6, so the blog posts are grouped across multiple pages instead of loading all at once. Inside the collection list, select the collection item and add an image element. In the settings panel, click the plus icon here besides the image and connect it to blog post main image. Set the image width 100% inside the style panel so everything scales properly. The thumbnails will then automatically populate based on the images stored inside each CMS item. Still, inside the collection item, add a heading element, change it to heading 3, then connect the text field to blog post name. Now, every heading will then instantly pull its title dynamically from the CMS. Dynamic linking can also be added under the collection list. Select the collection item and place a div block around the image and heading elements. All we got to do now is right-click the div block and then choose Convert to Link Block. Inside the link settings, set the page destination to the current blog post page. So each content card is now fully clickable and automatically linked to its matching blog post. To clean up the design, let's align the text to center inside the style panel, change the font color to black, and let's remove the default link underlines. Filtering is another powerful CMS feature. Select the collection list in the navigator, open up the filter section in the settings panel, then click the plus icon to create a filter. So Webflow allows filtering based on different fields like name and body and summary or featured status. So for example, selecting the featured field and setting it to is on will instantly filter the collection list, so it only displays blog posts marked as featured inside the CMS. So a website can have a great layout and clean styling, but without motion, everything can still feel a little flat. Interactions and animations just help guide our attention, making elements feel responsive and create a smoother experience as people move through the site. So Webflow includes built-in interaction tools that then allow animations to be created visually without having to write any code. And every interaction here is built around 2 parts: the trigger, which starts the animation, and then the action, which controls what actually happens. And these interactions can respond to things like hovering and clicking and scrolling or page loading. And there are 2 main types of interactions inside of Webflow. Element triggers are attached to specific elements like buttons and cards or images, while page triggers affect the entire page, such as animations that play when the site first loads. So let's start with a simple hover effect. Select the collections link block from the navigator, then open up the Interactions tab on the right side menu and choose Hover. Click Add an Action, select Animate, and then set the To Scale value to 1.1. This creates a slight zoom in effect when hovering over the element. And after that, just go back to the trigger menu and add another trigger. This time, set the type to mouse leave and change the control to reverse. And this creates the zoom out effect whenever the cursor leaves the element. So let's go ahead and preview the page and test the interaction. The images will smoothly zoom in on hover and then return back to normal afterward, which immediately makes the interface feel a lot more dynamic. So now page load animations can also add a much smoother first impression. So let's select the body element from the navigator, open up the Interactions tab, and choose Page Load. Click Add an Action, let's scroll through the animation presets and select one that you like, such as maybe Scale In. The duration and ease settings can also be customized. So for example, setting the duration to 1.5 seconds with an exponential easing style creates a softer and smoother entrance effect. Previewing the page again will show the content just gradually animating into view instead of appearing instantly. Scroll-triggered animations are another popular effect as well, especially for modern landing pages. Change the collection list layout to full width so there's enough space for scrolling. Select the collection item in the navigator, open up the Interactions tab, and then choose Scroll. Click Add an Action, select Animate, set the start value to 0, and then set Move Y to -1000. After previewing the page, the blocks will now slide upward as the user scrolls down the page. And these types of scroll animations just help create that kind of depth and keep long pages feeling more interactive as users move through the content. Micro interactions can also be added to smaller elements like, say, buttons. Select the next button here on the canvas, go to the Interactions tab, and then choose Click. Add an animation, set the duration to ½ second, and then increase the scale value to 1.5. Enable the repeat back and forth option, then test the animation. So these small responses to user actions make the website just feel more tactile and responsive, almost like interacting with a physical interface instead of a static page. Most websites need some kind of way for visitors to reach out, ask questions, or submit information, and forms are what handle that entire process. Webflow makes form creation pretty simple while still giving enough control to really customize your design and manage submissions properly. So let's go ahead and start by going back to the home page here, open the Add panel, drag a section onto the canvas, then place a container inside of it. After that, drag a form block onto the container, and by default, the form block already includes a label, a text field, and a submit button, so the basic structure is ready for you immediately. Select the form block and then head over to the Style panel. And here you can customize the background color, the borders, the typography, and the spacing to match the rest of the website design. Setting the padding somewhere, say around 40, usually gives the form a cleaner and more balanced appearance. Validation settings are also important, so select the text field, open the settings panel, and enable the required checkbox. And this prevents users from submitting incomplete forms without entering important information like their name or email address. Handling submissions is built directly into Webflow, so click the Submit button on the form, then look under the Send To section inside the settings panel. Now, Webflow is connected by default here, which means all submitted forms can then automatically be viewed inside your Webflow account. So clicking the Webflow option will then just redirect you to the form submissions page where all your collected responses are stored. Email notifications can also be enabled here. So under the same Send To area, click Email Notifications, enter your own email address or the address of someone like a sales representative, then click Apply. And after that, every form submission will then automatically send a notification email while also storing the response inside Webflow's built-in Forms dashboard. External integrations are supported as well. So for example, forms can be connected directly to services like Mailchimp for email marketing. Go to Mailchimp.com and then log into your account. Inside the Mailchimp dashboard, click Create, then choose Form followed by Create Embedded Form. Continue through the setup process until you reach the Embedded Form Code section. So here inside that code, search for Form Action and copy everything inside the quotation marks. And then let's head back into Webflow, select the Submit button on the form, then go back to the Send To settings. Remove both Webflow and email notifications so the Custom Action option becomes available. Select Now Custom Action, paste the form action URL copied from Mailchimp, then set the method to post. Then save your changes. And after that setup is complete, every submitted form will now automatically be captured inside of Mailchimp instead of Webflow. Now, a website looking good is really only part of the process because people still need to actually find it online, and the site also needs to load quickly across devices. And that's where SEO and optimization become extremely important because they directly affect visibility and performance and overall user experience. So let's start by opening up the Pages panel and clicking the gear icon beside the home page. And this opens up the page settings where you can add SEO information like the title tag and the meta description. So for example, the title tag could be something like digital marketing that scales, Vantage Peak. Under that, add a meta description such as get more leads. With our AI-driven marketing strategies, we guarantee a 30% ROI increase within 90 days or your money back. Start your free brand audit today. After entering both fields, click Save. And there are a few important SEO guidelines to keep in mind here while writing these tags. Title tags should stay under 60 characters because Google usually cuts them off after that length. Meta descriptions work best around, say, 150 to 160 characters to avoid being truncated in search results. Strong descriptions also tend to start with action-oriented words like discover, learn, get, browse, or find. Adding a clear value proposition also helps as well because it gives users a reason to click your page over competing search results. So repeat this process for every important page across your website. Webflow also includes built-in SEO tools directly inside of the platform. So click the Webflow icon in the upper left corner here, open Site Settings, then switch to the SEO tab. And here, you'll find settings for robots.txt, XML sitemaps, global canonical URLs, and LLMs.txt files. The robots.txt file controls which pages search engines are allowed to crawl. The sitemap acts like a roadmap for search engines so they can index pages more efficiently. Canonical URLs help prevent duplicate content issues by identifying the official version of a page. And LLMs.txt is designed specifically for AI systems and provides a simplified summary of the website's content for large language models to process more effectively. Now, some of these advanced SEO settings do require upgrading to a paid site plan before they do become available to you. Image optimization is another important part of SEO. So open the Assets panel, hover over any image, click the three-dot menu, then choose Edit Settings. Inside the alt text field, add a clear description of the image, such as, say, minimalist workstation in a dark room. So every important image on the website should include alt text because it improves accessibility for screen readers while also helping search engines really understand the content of the image itself. Performance testing is built into the workflow as well. So click Share in the upper right corner here, enable the sandbox link and copy the URL. Go to this page, pagespeed.web.dev, paste the sandbox link, then run the analysis. After the scan finishes, Google will show performance issues that may affect your loading speed, accessibility, or even your SEO rankings. Now, fast websites generally rank better in search results and create a smoother experience for visitors across all devices. Redirects are another important SEO feature, especially when page URLs just change later on. Open the Webflow icon again, go to Site Settings, then switch to the Publishing tab. Scroll down until you reach the 301 Redirect section. And this allows old URLs to redirect properly to newer pages either individually or in bulk using CSV uploads and wildcard rules. Redirects help preserve SEO rankings and prevent visitors from landing on broken 404 pages. Like some of the other advanced SEO settings here, 301 redirects require an upgraded site plan to activate. A website isn't fully complete until it's actually live and accessible online. Publishing is the step that takes everything built inside the designer and pushes it to the internet so visitors can finally start using it. Webflow handles hosting directly inside the platform, which makes publishing much simpler compared to, say, traditional website setups. And Webflow hosting just works differently from exporting a site to an external hosting provider. So keeping the website hosted directly on Webflow allows the CMS, the forms, the search features, the animations, and the dynamic content to continue working natively without additional setup. Content updates do happen instantly, interactions remain fully functional, and the editor experience stays connected to the live website. Exporting the code to an external server works more like taking a static snapshot of the site. Dynamic CMS content gets converted into static HTML files, which means that future updates would need to be exported and uploaded manually every time changes are made. So features like Webflow forms and built-in site search also stop working unless third-party tools are added separately. Publishing directly through Webflow is, however, much easier for most projects, especially websites that rely on CMS content, animations, or frequent updates. To publish the site, click the blue Publish button in the top right corner, select the webflow.io domain assigned to the project, then click Publish to selected domains. So doing this creates a live staging version of the website that can already be shared and tested online before connecting a professional custom domain. So custom domains can also be added through site settings here under the hosting section. Click Add Domain and then follow the connection process. Activating custom domains requires upgrading, however, to a paid site plan, but having a branded domain is indeed important for professionalism and credibility. Security is already built into Webflow hosting as well. Every published site automatically receives a free SSL certificate. After opening the live website, click the settings icon beside the URL in the browser. And if you see the padlock icon here saying connection is secure, the SSL certificate is active. SSL encryption protects the connection between visitors and the website, which is indeed important for both security and SEO rankings. Webflow also offers different hosting plans depending on the type of project being built. The basic plan works best for simple, static websites like landing pages or portfolios that don't need CMS functionality. The CMS plan is designed for blogs and news sites and dynamic websites. It supports up to 2,000 CMS items and allows content updates through the Webflow editor. The business plan is built for larger websites that need more performance and scalability. It increases CMS limits up to 10,000 items and supports significantly higher traffic levels. It also includes faster file uploads, a stronger global CDN for performance optimization, and higher monthly form submission limits. So for smaller projects, the basic or CMS plans are usually enough. Larger brands or high traffic content platforms benefit more from the business plan because then of the additional performance and scaling benefits and features. Webflow has also started integrating AI directly into the platform, making a lot of the design and the setup process even faster. So these AI tools work more like a creative assistant that can help you generate layouts and suggest styles, create content even, and automate repetitive design tasks without needing manual coding. Webflow AI can generate and customize websites, CMS structures, and all of the components using simple natural language prompts. So the goal here is to speed up development while still keeping designs clean, responsive, and production ready. To access it, just go to webflow.com/AI and scroll down until you see Jumpstart Your Next Site with AI. Inside the prompt panel, type something like AI Startup under Generate a Website. And after submitting that prompt, Webflow AI will then generate a complete site structure automatically for you. You can review the suggested structure, then click Generate Site, and then wait for the build process to finish. And after a few moments, you'll then have a fully structured website complete with layouts and branding and sections and design elements all generated from a single prompt. AI suggestions are also built directly into the editing experience as well. So open up any generated web page and click Edit. On the left sidebar, Webflow will display AI generated suggestions for things like themes and typography and sections and other design elements. And then clicking these suggestions instantly updates the website's appearance, so you can just preview different visual directions very quickly without rebuilding the layout manually. The AI tools also help you automate repetitive design work. So on the left sidebar here, select a component such as animations, then click the pencil icon to edit it. Choose an animation style and it can automatically apply across the entire website. Under the scope settings here, you can control whether the animation affects all sections, only the hero section, or specific elements like images and headings. The same automation workflow applies to typography, buttons, layouts, and other design systems all throughout your project. And this saves you a huge amount of time because Webflow AI can now apply consistent styling rules across multiple sections all at once instead of requiring individual edits element by element. And that's everything that you need to know to get started with Webflow. So from a blank canvas to a fully functional website, the entire process just becomes much easier once you understand how the platform works and how all the pieces connect together. So keep building, keep experimenting, and your workflow will get faster with every project. Thank you for watching and investing your time with me today. I'll see you at the next one.